So I just got done an hour of cardio, okay? And I wanted to talk about something. Uh, is there justification for sanguinarianism in the retardation of the aging process? And the short answer is no. There is no justification for drinking blood to stay young. But the longer answer is more interesting. It does seem that the infusion of young plasma into old organisms does indeed help reverse some of the diseases of aging, such as Alzheimer's and a number of other issues. However, I don't think that this approach is the best approach. I think prevention is a better means of doing this. And I don't think it's the most permanent approach because you have to keep infusing with young blood to stay young. Quite honestly, like a vampire, it would not be, it's not a remarkably feasible plan, so to say, because there will never be enough young people to use their blood to do that. It just doesn't make sense. And of course, there's the ethical ramifications, and you'll look like a freak. But the point is that there is, I think it's a very interesting thing. I think it's nice that they're doing this. I think it's great that they're coming up with these plasma therapies and things like that to reverse the aging process. And I do think there's a lot of promise there. However, that's not what I would recommend. Now, I want to make sure people know I'm not a doctor, I'm not a scientist. However, how I came across this was many years ago, back in, I don't know, 2013 or 14. There were a number of scientists doing research on this, and many of them were friends of mine on Facebook. Now, it was interesting to me because we all know about Elizabeth, well, people that are into true crime and things like that know about people like Elizabeth Bathory, the lunatic that was basically killing children and bathing in their blood. Now, of course, that doesn't work. It's not going to make you young to bathe in blood. But the thing is, this is very interesting because it does seem there's always been this inclination that the life blood will make you youthful again. And indeed, it seems to. But unfortunately, it's not a very permanent thing. So it's similar. I have a friend with myasthenia gravis, and she gets immunoglobulin infusions, which temporarily reverse the myasthenia gravis. And some people, it actually does put it into permanent remission, and I always thought that was quite interesting also. That's another plasma therapy, of course. It's an immune treatment. Now, what do I suggest? Well, I suggest what I suggest, or if anybody remembers my video on the Skulichev molecule, I entitled it the Soviet God Pill. The link will be in the description. I'm a big believer in the triage, Bruce Ames's triage theory, and I think that Joel Wallach, the co-founder of the theory of, well, not the theory, the discipline of epigenetics, the veterinarian that was the co-founder of the discipline of epigenetics, and I highly, highly, highly recommend people read his book Epigenetics, and I highly recommend that people read his book Dead Doctors Don't Lie, which shows how inadequate modern medicine is in many ways, particularly in the prevention and management of chronic disease. And the importance of nutrients in basically healing a lot of diseases that people sometimes think are you can't heal them. But yes, Dr. Joel Wallach was the co-founder of the theory of epigenetics, and I will leave a link to his concepts of his essential nutrients. Now, Dr. Bruce Ames states that you have to have every nutrient in the right balance. It's the same as orthomolecular medicine, but Dr. Ames proved this in the laboratory, which is what makes it interesting, because before this, orthomolecular medicine, although a good idea, although a sound theoretical idea, was not a proven idea. And Dr. Ames proved it. And Dr. Wallach proved it also prior to Dr. Ames in some ways, but he didn't call it the triage theory. He called it epigenetics. But the point that I'm making here is that you need to get all of your micronutrients. This is why you need to supplement a diet, even if you follow the perfect diet, and I would consider the perfect diet to be something more along the lines of a higher protein macrobiotic diet, or a higher protein, like a high protein vegan diet. Obviously, not a true macrobiotic diet, because that wouldn't be high protein. But the point is that you want to get an adequate amount of plant protein, and you want to get an adequate amount of fiber. A lot of your carbohydrates should come from fiber, not from simple carbohydrates or even starches, but from fiber. And you want to get a lot of vegetables and things like that. Basic cooked chimpanzee food, basically, with extra protein. So that's that. A lot of legumes. Okay, now I know legumes aren't something that chimpanzees eat, at least not in the state of nature, but a lot of legumes. So that's the basic diet. Now, the supplementation, you want to supplement with your micronutrients, with all of your micronutrients. And you want to take things like lecithin, which is present in sunflower seed kernels and things like that, because that helps to make these things more absorbable. And then you have these fancy antioxidants, things like coenzyme Q10, alpha lipoic acid, and of course vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E. These things are very important, and I do have to get back to doing my list of supplements that I take. Then you have the phytonutrients, like quercetin, and you have which you should be taking quercetin probably also. Now remember, I'm not a doctor, this is not medical advice or anything like that, but quercetin has a very good effect at rejuvenating the organism. Okay, it does rejuvenate the organism, as does tocotrienol vitamin E, which also together, tocotrienol vitamin E and quercetin have been shown to rejuvenate the organism. Also, individually, they rejuvenate the organism. So, yeah, you want to get your antioxidant nutrients. You want to get something to emulsify it so that it absorbs better, such as lecithin. And that lecithin also helps you to create nerve sheaths. So that's how I would recommend retarding the aging process. Okay, that's what I would recommend. And of course, exercise, vigorous exercise, as often as is possible. And that exercise should contain a little bit of flexibility training, a little bit of strength training, and a little bit of cardio training. Probably more cardio training and flexibility training and a healthy amount of strength training, but cardio seems to be where the money's at. But you do want to be strong. You want to be to reduce sarcopenia. Now that actually gets into the amino acids. I forgot to mention this. A lot of people have recently, because the IGF-1 and the aging whatever, and a lot of people are saying don't eat a high leucine diet. Well, you're not going to be eating a high leucine diet if you're following a vegan diet. But also the thing that you have to understand is leucine and the other branched chain amino acids are necessary molecules for healthy development and maintenance of healthy muscle mass. So I personally do supplement with both leucine, extra leucine, and branched chain amino acids, particularly prior to and after my workouts. I suggest that people supplement with branched chain amino acids as well as glycine. Glycine is a geroprotector. Glycine actually helps you get rid of excess methionine, which they also found that a reduction in methionine helps to extend lifespan in mice. But some of the amino acids that I would recommend taking are, of course, the branched chain amino acids. Glutamine. Glutamine is a big one because it helps with respiratory health and things like that as well. And, of course, stomach. Glutamine is so potent at healing the stomach that it is actually called intestinal permeability factor. That's how potent this stuff is. That's what it is. It's intestinal permeability factor. You heard about leaky gut. If you want to heal leaky gut, throw that bone broth and hippie crap out the window and start sucking down glutamine. Glutamine is most likely going to be what helps with the leaky gut more so than, say, bone broth or something of that nature. So that's what helps with retaining the gut health, the stopping the permeability of the intestine, and keeping you from, keeping things from wandering into your bloodstream. The other amino acid, so you got glycine, glutamine, of course the branched chain amino acids, and other things such as tryptophan. Tryptophan can be processed as niacin. Okay, this is important because leucine can interfere with your absorption of tryptophan and your production of tryptophan. So what this does is this help, or the absorption of tryptophan. So one of the side effects of a lot of leucine is pellagra. So to avoid that, you can take tryptophan. Now, I would recommend taking them apart. I recommend taking tryptophan and glycine and glutamine. I recommend taking glutamine 3 times a day, so you're getting at least 15 grams a day. But work your way up to that. Work your way up to that. But the thing is, I would recommend taking glycine, tryptophan, and what's the other one? Glycine, tryptophan, and glutamine at bedtime or prior to bedtime, a couple hours prior to bedtime. And I probably wouldn't drive a motor vehicle because it can make you very sedated, but it will help you get sleep. Also, melatonin is a very potent antioxidant and has very potent rejuvenation properties. So that would be something else that you would probably consider taking if you wanted to retard the aging process, far more than this sanguinarianism. I don't think that sanguinarianism is going to help you. I don't think that these infusions are going to help regularly healthy people. There's a lot of risk involved, particularly the fact that you might get some dirty blood. You might get a bad batch of blood depending on how you're getting your blood. Okay, that's a big thing. And that's all for this video.